Amelia, what is the example of the best balance change you can think of and the worst balance change you can think of? And if you could share your thoughts on why.
That has happened already, or that could
Yes,
happen?
that CCP has put out a patch for.
Oh, wow. All right. I think I'll start with the worst one. I think the worst one was the Rorqual change that buffed Rorquals, because I think to this day, still years later, you can still feel the effect of how much it has rippled through the economy, whether it be in terms of capital production, where almost every single capital is still sold below its build cost because there was such large amount of stockpiles that were created during this thing. I think it completely ruined the economy and has kind of changed the perception of scarcity and whatever it may be. So I think that was definitely the worst change possible. And one of the best change possible, let's see, that's a hard one. I really like how they rebalanced the Munins and the Eagles. I think it was actually really well done. The one caveat to that was I do not like how they did the MWD signature radius change, because I don't think it really affected the larger block type stuff which they were attempting to target. It really affected the smaller kind of mid-scale targets, where the hacks really lost complete value without that sig radius buff. So yeah, that's my two.
Gideon?
I agree with Amelia that the mutant changes or the hack changes in total were very, very well targeted. The signature radius, I don't know if it was that significant, and they were ships that were used in small gang stuff. There'd be a heavy attacker that could not be applied to by massive groups, so that role is kind of gone missing. So there are some aspects of that balance patch that were not the best ones. But in general, I would say it's not just these patches. I'm very happy that they introduced more balance patches in the last year than the years prior, because I think nobody ever in all of EVE liked the mutant meta for 4.5 years. Like, it would have been fine that the mutant meta, or the hack meta in general, it's not just the mutant, would have been around for 6 months, a year. But if there would have been a switch after that, and I'm happy to see that balance changes come a little bit quicker now. I would like them to be a little bit faster. And we can see this with single ships as well, not just massive balance patches, but let's take the example of the Execute Era Navy issue. It was a ship not utilized anywhere in space. They did number tweaks, and now it's one of the most used ships in space. And we are not seeing massive cries about them being overpowered, apart from, I think Phantomite made some statements about faction warfare, especially. But if you look at the large meta in nullsec, you see that they are not targeted as a ship that people think are super aggressive. So I'm very happy with CCP doing changes to single ships, and I hope that they will do them quicker. And I think that's something that CCP definitely improved upon in the last years. And I think some of the worst changes are probably the Anciplex that we noted. But at the same time, I think introducing the Abyssal PvE in the way that they did. I'm perfectly happy with PvE opportunities that are instanced. In certain parts of space, we have missions. I don't like that the highest income source is an ISAC.
Cael? Best balance pass, worst balance pass?
Yeah, so best, I'm going to go for something relatively recent here. Part of the big rework to faction warfare was a change to the relative balance of victory point rewards for different plexes. Used to be, if you were trying to push a system, what you had to do was focus on the smallest plexes first and then work your way upward. And they changed it so that if the only thing you're after is just, push this system as fast as possible, you reversed that and you went top down. Biggest plexes first, working your way down. Massive success in my opinion. It gets people to put bigger assets out there in faction warfare low sec, where they can start fights and start more interesting fights, and start fights that last longer. Massive success, I think. For the worst, We've heard a few good ones from Gideon and Amelia already. I'm gonna go and actually point to something economics, which is the change in the fee for relisting and changing prices to goods on the market. The effect, really the sole effect, as far as I can tell, of that balance pass was to make it so that people selling goods no longer wanted to actually list their whole stock. And so basically, CCP killed market depth in most auxiliary hubs. Basically, everywhere but JITA, lost probably the majority of their market depth on most or all goods. So I think that was a big swing and a miss by CCP. I would love to see them undo that. And I think it's if not the worst thing that they've done balance wise lately, it's definitely up there.